Hey guys, it's Nate doing the options locator March 14th video to accompany the newsletter. So I'm just going to dive right into it. We've got ABBV forming an inside week, forming a double inside month, but we're looking for it to get up over 109.44, 109.38. Let's see if we can get up that way, and then 110.27. So I like this movement. Couple inside days here. It's kind of in an uptrend. I really want to see it over 108.69. Then we'll get through this downward trend line here to 110, hopefully 112, and then 113.40, 114. So that's what I'm looking at here. As long as it continues to hold like the 102 area and then 104 and 105, I think we should be okay as long as it doesn't break this upward trend line. I went with the April calls on it, so to absorb some movement if it chooses to do so. So that's what I'm looking at with ABBV. Blink had some news earlier in the week. Kind of ramped up. Needs to really push through 40. I thought we were going to get a good push here on Thursday over 40. Struggled here. It's an old breakout area as well, and they retested it over here. So I like how it reclaimed everything, and now I'm just looking for a solid push over 40 through this trend line, and then 44. Next up, we've got Carnival CCL. So good reopening play here. I like how they recovered it from last Friday. It broke out with an inside day up, then they came back through. So now we're looking through this downward trend line here. Really needs to confirm 28.50, and then I'd like to see a push up towards 30. Get a good pre-earnings run. Thinkorswim has it listed as April 1st. This is March 30th. So either way, I think we've got earnings in the next couple weeks. So you zoom out, and we're still, pretty big downfall from last year. With that news, it's holding up pretty well. You got a gap up here around 40. Not thinking that we'll get there, but I would like to see at least a move to 30 plus. So that's what I'm looking at with CCL. And the good thing about that is the options are relatively cheap. They're okay. A lot of open interest. Looking at the April 30 calls. So we'll see what happens there. CGC, some pot news this week out of New York and Mexico. And then I think a couple of the other names have earnings this week. So we'll see how it reacts. They wicked this gap down here last week, and then this week they went inside all of that. So through this downward trend line, this gap has been filled here with this wick, but I'd like to see a solid candle fill on it. So if we could get over 36, then up to 38 is what my target is on that. So that's really what I'm seeing with CGC. Chewy. Pretty big downfall since this breakout back in February. Made new all-time highs. We were able to catch that move, and then pretty big downfall here. They retested this old breakout around 80, held up pretty well. Earnings at the end of the month. It's got an inside day. It's holding this upward trend line. If we could get an inside day up, I might get in early. But I'm really looking for a move over 88 to get us going, and then 90 and so on. So I'm looking at the April $100 calls on that. Costco, broke out of this broadening formation, broke it to the downside, had earnings last week, and then they came back through this week. Inside day up played out very well for us. You've got the stimulus news. It's not going to hurt retail by any means. In my opinion, I think Walmart, Costco, names like that, they're really going to start seeing a rebound even more so, especially with these stimulus checks and everything. So I'm looking for a move over 331.75. I'm looking at the April 350 calls. A little bit of a wide spread right now, but I'm hoping that tightens up as we get up closer. You got some good support and resistance in this area, so 340, 345 initial targets here. Delta Airlines, another one that's holding up well, kind of like, with the travel industry, like CCL and the other cruise liners and airliners, holding this upward trend line here. Now we're trying to get a move over 50. We've got this gap here's been filled, and they hovered around it, and then they came back through. You zoom out a little bit, you got a bigger gap up here around 55. I'm not saying that we'll get there, but that's the initial pandemic news of last year. So we'll see if we can get a solid move, at least over 50 to 52.50, and longer term 55 to that gap. What I'm looking at there is the April $50 calls. Good open interest, good tight spread on it. So might look at this for a potential swing. DDD 3D Systems. What I like about this is it came right back to the old breakout area of around 22. You had this initial breakout here. This high here is 25. The close here is 22.96. So it came right back to this old breakout area, found some support, and now we're climbing back up. So we're holding this upward trend line here. I'd like to see a move over 32 here to get us confirmed, and then 35. Small gap here, up around 40, and I'm looking at the April $35 calls on that. Not a whole lot of open interest, but I think, as it works its way up, it will gain some volume and open interest there. iRobot, pretty tight here. We had this inside day set up back in January. Never thought that it was going to basically double in 2 or 3 days here. Pretty solid move. So I think this was a Wall Street Bets play here now. So now we're looking at all of this is inside these few candles here, but we've also got a tight range right here. Looking for a move over 122 through this downward trend line up towards 125, 130, and then over this high of 137.79 to really confirm the move up. We break down, looking under, looks like 114 or so, get down to 110. If this breaks, then if this upward trend line breaks here, then look for a move back down to around 100 here. Not a lot of open interest. There was on the put side, there's a dollar spread there. The call side has a little bit wider spread, but it's holding up okay. Looking at the April 145 calls on that. JMIA, another one. I've been seeing a lot of these ones that are retesting the old breakouts. So if you zoom out, you got this breakout of 49.77, which was this old high here. They tested it here, confirmed it through here, but now look where we're at. We're right back to the old breakout spot. Is it going to be resistance? Maybe. We'll see what the inside day does before we do anything with the inside week. Holding this upward trend line, support down here around 44. So just because if this breaks or takes the inside day down, I've looked for support around 44. Might jump the gun, but at 49.77. But I'd really like to see a move over, confirm move over 50. Saw some flow and sweeping activity on Thursday. That's pretty good candle there, 16% move that day. So see if we can get a confirmed move over 50 and then work our way back up. Don't think we'll retest 68 this week, but it's not unheard of. Looking at the April $55 calls on that. Lemonade, LMND, really good move on Thursday here. Went inside day with a nice hammer on Friday. So if we could get over 105 here, that's kind of what I'm looking at to get us going, and then get us over 110, 109.74 here. If it kind of broke out that trend line there on Thursday. So if we can confirm it off the inside day up, we'll likely take the inside week up. Small gap here on the daily here. So 110 might be resistance at the gap, and then the gap goes to 127. So see if we can get a nice upward move there this week. MU Micron, it retested the June 2000 highs. Thought we were going to get the July all-time high from 2000, retest those highs. Couldn't do it. They pulled it back a little bit, but I like how it's holding up. Really looking for a move over 90. If we can get a solid push over 90, 90.50, then I would look for 92.50 and then 95 and then 97.50 to 100 magnet. Earnings, it looks like towards the end of the month, might see a nice ramp up in the earnings. Could be a nice swing play here. And with that, I'm looking at the April $100 calls. They're priced pretty well, good open interest. So that's what I'm looking at there. Net, small gap here on the daily, downward trend line here. Another one, like I said about testing the old breakouts or support areas. You had support here at 72. Tested it, broke it. Now we're right back at it. So now we're looking at this small little gap here on the daily. I'd like to see a move up here towards 80, 84, 85. Eventually a $100 magnet is what I'm looking at on that one. And with net, I am looking at the April $85 calls on that. QS, we had it a couple weeks ago. Couldn't really get confirmed out of this downward trend line. We're over 62.04, and ended up taking the bottom part out, filled this gap here, found good support around 40, which was support here in the old breakout here. So now we're looking for a confirmed move over 60. If we can get over 60, next target I'm looking at 62.04, 70 with the gap entry around 75. Looking at the April $85 calls there. SDGR, Schrodinger, is kind of purely just a gap play, even though it is an inside week play, looking for a move over 82. If we can get over 82, then this gap is 20% gap there. So ultimately back up here to around 100. But if we can even get halfway into that gap, we're still looking around, get up here around 92. We're looking at a 12% move there. So that'd be a good play. Looking for the inside day up. Another one that, even though it might break this upward trend line here, if it holds 76, 75 area, it's not lost on us. I would put a stop around 75. On that one, I'm looking at the April $85 calls. A little bit of a widespread, low open interest, but that might change once it starts moving a little bit into that gap. Snap, a good recovery out of this downward trend line here, holding this upward trend line. Almost retested 50, which is a good whole mental number for everybody that's in. Might be a good area that people have their stops at. So now we're looking for it to get through this old breakout resistance area of around 63, 65 here. So if we can get through 65, I'm looking for a move over 70 to 75 is essentially what I'm looking at with the April $75 calls. Sono, again, we had it here, broke out very well, retested that gap, and then made new highs, came back through, retested that gap, found support there, and now we're looking for new all-time highs yet again. Over 42 will be a breakout with the April $45 calls. Tesla had a good running formation that broke down, came through on some weakness here, and then just kept falling. And then earlier in the week, we had a good inside day up on Tuesday this week. Almost retested last week's high of 721.11. Couldn't test it, or couldn't push through it. And so now we're looking to get back up. Some news came out yesterday that Musk and the board were getting sued over some SEC tweeting violations. Not exactly sure. I don't think it really impacted the stock at all yesterday. Initially I'm looking for a move over 700 and then through this trend line, and then 721.11 is essentially what I'm looking at here. Twitter, another one, it wicked into that gap, couldn't confirm the gap, found support there, and then riding this upward trend line. These 2 days are inside this day here, looking for a move around basically over 69.70, and then get into a nice uptrend here. Vroom earnings gap. So now, we had this breakout a few weeks ago. That was a very nice breakout for us. Then that, it fell on earnings. Now it reclaimed, this old support area here. So now we're trying to fill this gap. So if we can get a confirmed move and close over 38, I would like to swing these with the April $45 calls to complete this gap fill. And finally, we have WDC, Western Digital. Been holding this 72 breakout for a while. And if we zoom way out, 72 is a pretty good resistance bar here. So then the next move we've got is up here around 75 is the target. So it filled a few gaps. Really broke out. Been seeing a lot of sweeping and flow activity on this one. If we can get through this downward trend line over 70 and then over 72, it needs to really close and hold 72 to confirm the move. Target there is 75. That's really all I have this week. There's not a ton of I don't have any other setups, if you will, like I normally do, because we had so many inside week setups. So I'm just going to stick to the inside week setups. I don't want to overwhelm anybody, especially with this environment right now, the way things are. So I think we have plenty of setups to choose from, and I hope you guys have a good week. Just one last thing, I'm going to go over the disclaimer. None of this is investment advice. I'm not a licensed broker. I'm not a licensed anything. So I put the disclaimer at the end of the newsletter. It's for you to go over. And all this is just ideas and not intended or meant to be any type of investment advice. So hope you guys have a good week, and if you need anything, let me know.